All right, guys. I feel so privileged. Most of you I know, some of you who don't know me, my name is Judy Fordon. I am excited to be able to work with you today. So what I wanted to talk with you today, and again, I'm really going to ask, and I'm going to get my chat box to come up here. I really would like to see some interaction, because what we're going to talk about today is being diverse in the calls that you're making. Who are you calling? Who are you prospecting? We know all the lead sources, okay? So I'm gonna just run through the lead sources, and if anybody wants to add a lead source that they're calling that I don't list, you can add it to the chat box, and I'm gonna ask you some questions. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through the list, just simply out of our script book. And what they are is, we know our lead sources that are available to us are the following: our SOI, right? Cold calling, just listed, just sold, expired, FSBO, absentee owner. Some people call those for rent by owners. The renter script, so we can actually talk to a renter for buying. Call capture script, when they call in and we take their call from there. Notice of default, business to business, vendor script, and we have a buyer script. Okay, who else in this group is calling anybody other than that list? Because that's the list we all pretty much know. It's the basics, but is anybody doing anything else for prospecting? Participation part. And John and Ellen, thank you so much for letting me see your faces. Appreciate it. If anybody else would like to share, I'd love to see the faces. Okay, good. All right, so nobody else is, so no one's calling any other sources. These are the sources, right? There might be some other ones, but let's face it, that's a pretty long list. People are door knocking, absolutely. Okay, so we're door knocking, and in the door knocking, you could use the just listed, just sold script. You could use just the cold call script, right? So those are some things we can do. So the question I want to ask everybody, and this will be interesting, and I'm going to give it a minute. I'm going to be silent. I know that's hard to believe. I'm going to be silent for a minute, but I want everybody to write in here, what is your favorite lead source? What are you the best at? So I want everybody just to start chatting and just typing in the chat box. What is the lead source that you like the most? Okay, guys. Okay. It's only two. Okay. See, I can't be quiet. Okay, there's 30 of us on this call, and I only have about I only have about 7 people who have responded. So if you can respond, if you're not driving, I'd really like, because I want to prove a point. I want to really talk about the diversity and why you should be diverse in your calls. Okay, anybody else? Okay. So as I took a few notes on here, it looks like our group is, and of course our company is so strong on SOI, and that everybody should be strong on SOI. So we had the majority of the people pick SOI. We had a few people pick just listed, just sold. We had a few people do expireds. One said NOD, starting to call. And we had just one person put FSBOs. Now I know there are a couple of you that I coach that are doing FSBOs. You didn't put your information down on here, so we'll talk about participation later, okay? Right? Because remember, when you participate at a high level in these meetings, in these morning meetings, it's where you're going to get the most. Really try to play full out on these, okay? All right, so it looks, so what I want to ask everybody is if we are heavy on SOI, or if we're heavy on the just listed, just sold script, why do you think we are, so each of us seems to have at least one that's our favorite or we're the best at? Does anybody want to give us a chat, and then I'll just talk about it? Why do you think, Rick Bentley calls agents, he's one of our best recruiters, exactly. Okay, so why do you think we are the best at those, and why okay, great. So we've got a couple of people coming in here. So we have had success in those, we're comfortable with them, we are safe in who we're calling. That's exactly right, guys. When we get started prospecting, we usually pick a lead source. And that's smart. It's smart to start with one, get really good at it. And then the problem with that, a lot of the time, as we can see in this list, is that we stay, just like Kelly said, in our comfort zone, right? We stay there and we don't expand. And what I have found with people that I coach, that when I ask them, why don't you expand? It's time to expand. It's time to get into the expireds. It's time to get into the for sale by owners, and they're nervous. What do you think they tell me why they're so afraid? Because let's face it, it's fear. I had it. I can remember my very first expired phone call, and it was 20 some years ago. It was that bad. So I understand the fear. I was fortunate. The lady that I called, she had to be 80 years old. I was talking a mile a minute because I was so nervous. It was my first expired call. I had someone sitting next to me to help me, and I call her up and I'm like, brrr, and I don't even hear her say, Judy, or she didn't say Judy. She said, stop, stop, stop. And I didn't hear her. And all of a sudden I heard her, and she said, honey, it'll be okay. Just start over and I'll listen. Now, I was fortunate that I had such a great experience with someone who was kind to me and didn't just hang up. But I want you all to know, those of us who are teaching, those of us who are coaching, we have done what we're asking you to do, and we know how uncomfortable it is, and we're willing to share our stories with you. 20 some years later, when I say it, I still get a little shaky because it was that monumental for me. Okay. So we really do get comfortable. So it's the fear. We're afraid of calling those people. So I ask, okay, when you started calling your SOI, did you feel comfortable? Most of them say no. So I ask them, how did you get comfortable? And what do they always say? I learned the script. I learned what to say. I realized how they were going to react to me. So what we really have to look at is, if your favorite lead source is SOI, I absolutely don't want you to stop. You need to call them. You need to know how many people you have in your SOI. Call them as many as you need to every day to get through to them each quarter. Because remember, in those affirmations, if you're really watching those affirmations, it says we call them quarterly. You have to call them quarterly. You don't stop any lead sources. If you're good at expireds, and you're going to add for sale by owners, especially here in Utah, if you're not calling for sale by owners, you're missing the boat. I was in a market that we had hardly no for sale by owners. This is like, I think, who wouldn't be calling a for sale by owner? Okay. So if you learned one script, you learned what their objections were, you learned how they reacted to you on the phone. Could you do it with another lead source? Yeah, John, thanks for shaking your head. Exactly. Yeah, so you can. Okay, so it's a matter of making a choice. And what I suggest to everybody, and I did this as a group call when I was away last week with my group of people, is I suggest picking one more lead source. And I'm going to talk about each lead source a little bit in depth about what our mindset is with them, and what probably their mindset is actually that might be different than what we're thinking when we're calling them. Okay, so be prepared. I'm going to ask everybody to commit to adding one lead source. I don't want you to add all of them, just one. So if you're calling SOI and you want to add just listed, perfect. If you are doing expireds and you want to add for sale by owners, perfect. 1, not 2, 1. How many? 1. Thank you, Greg. Only 1. It's too hard to learn so many at one time. Even when I was younger, I couldn't do it. So do 1. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the major lead sources. I'm going to talk about our main group, because we know we can do the for rent by owner, we can do the NODs now, the notice of defaults, and all the others. I'm just going to talk about expired, FSBO, just listed, just sold, but I'll probably do the SOI first, and if we have time, I'll do just listed, just sold. So I'm going to take you through an exercise that will be the same for each lead source. So let's start with expireds. When we call an expired, or when we're getting ready to call an expired, what's going through most of our minds when we're calling them? So chat box time, participation time. What do we think about the expired? How do we think they're going to react? What are they going to say? What are they thinking? What's in our mind? They're mad. Yes. My wife just said the best way to add your SOI is calling the other lead sources. Exactly. Nice. Smart lady. Yep. They're mad. So expireds are mad. So let's talk about that, because that's what came up mostly. So their fear of how we're going to sell if someone else didn't. Exactly. Okay. So we're calling an expired, and our fear is that they're going to be mad at us. Our fear is they don't believe that we're going to be able to get their home sold because someone else didn't. Okay, guys, let's face it. If you had your home on the market, if you had something to sell or something to do to accomplish, and someone said they could do it and they didn't, would you not be mad? I'd be mad. Yeah, especially if it took a long time. I had people come through my house. And they think all real estate agents are the same. So sure, they're going to think we can't do it either. So part of what we have to do in our mind is we have to think about the fact is they should be mad. Expect them to be mad. You call up and you have to be empathetic. You have to do that mirror and match to a certain degree. Call them up, calling to see your home has come up on our computer as an expired listing, and they say, ah, la, 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 la. You say, gosh, I know that is so, it has to make you so angry. Go on to the next question. Now they feel that you understand why they're angry. They should be angry. Okay? So if we change our mindset about why they're mad, they don't even know who you are. They're not mad at you. They're mad at the other agent. They're mad at the rest of the agents outside of Century 21 and the people we coach in other companies. Okay, so if you can change your mindset that they're not angry at you, they're angry at the fact that they didn't get their home sold. They had somewhere to go. Their dream didn't get accomplished. Okay, so change how you think about their reaction. All right, okay, that's expired. Now let's go to for sale by owners. What do you feel or think that they're thinking when you call it for sale by owner? So let's do the chat box on that one. I know in this group, a lot of you do call for sale by owners. So what do for sale by owners, what do we feel they're going to be thinking in their head when we call them? They don't see our value. What else? They're trying to pump them for, we're trying to pump them for money. Yep, we just want our commission. Realtors make too much money. Wouldn't that be nice? They are saving money and can do it on their own. Okay, so those are the basics. If anybody, they feel bombarded by calls. They want all their money. Blood-sucking agents. Greg, that's right. Okay, so listen, if you go into your calls, now I know that a lot of you are stronger than those thoughts, I hope. But let's face it, that's what goes through our mind. And that's how they act when we call them. So let's do the same exercise of how we could change our mindset on their reaction. So they react to us and they say, I'm not working with the agent, because they do. I'm not working with an agent. You guys charge too much. I'm going to keep my money. So let me go back to your own situation. If you had the ability to sell your own home or to sell something or do something in your life, and you could save your family $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, would you do it? If you could save your family that much money, would you do it? Of course, we all would. Yeah, for sure. So they think they can. What we have to do, without making them wrong, we have to be able to have the language to get over to them, to show them by doing it themselves, they're probably not going to save that money. In fact, they're going to lose more money. So when we go into the call, again, we have to be empathetic. And sometimes that's one of the hardest things for me to do. That's why when you're making these calls, you have to remind yourself of this conversation, check your notes, because we have to be empathetic of the fact that, gosh, if they could save themselves money, they should. We should, that should be our answer to them. Well, of course, you would always want to save your family money. Okay? I can understand you're getting all of these calls. That's got to be frustrating. So we have to be empathetic with them. What we have to believe is we have to believe that we have the resources, we have the skills that will allow them to make more money. Never want you to tell them over the phone how it's going to be, but you can say something like, of course you would want to save your family that commission. I would too, if I were you, right? So let me ask you, if I could show you how I've helped others, it may not work for you, but if I could show you how I've helped others and actually covered the commission and got them more money, wouldn't it be worth 10 minutes of your time, say tomorrow at 6 or Friday at 6? So I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying it's an absolute, but I'm saying, you know, what if what I've done for other people could actually help you? And you could make more money, pay the commission, move on, be happy, not have to do the paperwork. Again, we're not doing that we're not telling them all that over the phone, but that's in your mind. And then you have to be able to present the statistics, and maybe on another morning Ascent, I'll do a for sale by owner, how to present yourself when you're at an appointment to show them your value. Okay, I think that'll be a fun one. So remember, so for sale by owners, we really have to think about where are they coming from. It's logical. They just don't realize that we can get them more money, and it's our job to get over there to show them. And the only way to do that is to be empathetic, not make them wrong, and get an appointment so you can go over there and show them what your value is. Okay? If anybody has questions, you can always put that in the chat box as well, and hopefully I'll remember to look. Okay, so we did expireds and we did for sale by owners. Let's do the SOI, our sphere of influence. Now, it's interesting because I have found throughout the years, it's like 50-50. People either are super comfortable calling their SOI or they're super uncomfortable calling their SOI, right? So for those of us that, or for those of you that are uncomfortable calling your SOI, let's talk about the why. Let's go through the same exercise. If you're afraid or concerned about calling your SOI, or used to be, tell me in the chat box, what do we think is going in the mind, around in the mind of our friends and our family when we call them for business? What do we think they're thinking? Okay, chat box time, participation. It's our SOI, we're calling them. What makes us afraid? When we're getting on the phone and we think, oh, I should call so-and-so, but that we just want to sell a house. Yep, what else? What else? What goes through our mind? Come on, you guys. I know some of you are reluctant to call your SOI, or used to be. They don't want us wasting their time. We're asking them for business. They expect us to expect them to work for us. Here comes the next Amway pitch, right? Okay, great. So those are all the things. They think that we only want them for business. Absolutely. So that's what goes through our mind. So let me give it to you in a different scenario. What I have found in my coaching, looking like we only care about the money. So what, and Liz said, why all of a sudden she calls me now? Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of wording to do that if you have someone you haven't called or if you haven't started making your calls. But what I have found people telling me that if they haven't called their SOI and they find out that they sold or bought a home through somebody else, what they're told, like when they call and they say, oh, we just moved, right? Or they see them at a party, oh, we just moved. And the real estate agent friend says, well, I'm in real estate. Why didn't you know that? Why didn't you use me? Right? We just say it automatically. We can't even help ourselves. And usually the answer is a few things. Usually the answer is, well, gosh, I didn't even know you were still in real estate. I haven't heard from you. Or, boy, you seem so busy. You never call me. I just thought, I didn't know if you would have the time for me. I see you sell bigger homes than mine. I'm not sure if you sold my house. I was buying an investment property. I was buying a duplex. I didn't think that was part of residential. Guys, they don't know what we do if we don't ask them and tell them how we can help them. Okay, so you have to, if you can change your mind that you are losing the opportunity to help the people you care about most, use that attitude versus you're calling just for a listing and a sale and just a paycheck. You're calling if you can change your mindset to how you can help those people. And you don't want to be the person that misses out on helping them because they didn't know you were still in real estate. They didn't know what kind of real estate you sold and all of those things that we just talked about. So Liz, and I'm sure many of us that haven't called our SOI in a while, you could just call them up and you can just apologize. And you can say, hey, this is Liz. I'm calling about a couple things. First, I'm going to want to ask about how you're doing. And then second, I want to talk about business. Is that okay? They'll say, sure, fine. So you can have a little chit chat because that's normal. But I don't want you to skip the fact that you say, I have two things I'm calling about. I don't want you to call about chit chat and then switch it to real estate. That feels bad. Okay. Your intention is because you care about them. Hey, how especially right now, how are you? How's the family? Has everyone stayed healthy? Yep. Everyone's healthy. Great. My second reason for calling is I realize I have not called you in a long time to ask you how I can help you with your real estate or someone else's real estate needs that you know. How can I help? I remember groveling and saying to people and saying, I'm calling and I'm hoping, gosh, I have missed a couple times calling you this year that I should have, because it happens to all of us, guys. We don't do what we're supposed to some of the time. So when I did that, I would call and say, my apologies. I have dropped out of calling you and keeping you up to date. My hope is that I didn't miss an opportunity to help you or someone you knew with your real estate needs. Okay. Be honest. One of the things that I think is so great about Everest, what is so great about Everest sales system is we are allowed to be who we are. We are allowed to be people. We are allowed to connect with people. Our scripts are intended to be a framework and to allow you to be a person. We give you the framework. You're not going to say the same thing every time you call your SOI. So if you have something important to tell them, tell them. It's not on the script. It's okay. This is a conversation with people you care about. Okay. So I really want to make sure that you are allowing yourself to be yourself and letting those people around you see how much heart you have about your business and how you want to help them. All right. So with SOI, really important that you're calling them quarterly. You're sending them something quarterly and having in your mindset, you're not calling them for business. You're calling them to say, how can I help you? And one added thing with SOI, call them once in a while and just say, I have a great book of affiliates. I call them affiliates. They're people that do work with me on homes. If you ever need someone for your roof, someone for your windows, whatever it might be, call me. I have a list of people that I have already entrusted. See, that's value. You don't even have to ask them about real estate at this point. You're just giving them something about their home. You want, when they think about their home, they think about you. And they call you because you are the expert about homes, selling what they need, any of it. That's what you want. Okay. I do want to say something. I'm going to skip the just listed, just sold for today. I want to talk about door knocking because I had an experience about a month ago that I want to share with everybody, and it applies not just for door knocking, but it applies for any of our prospecting calls. Okay, and this is why I want you to be diverse in your calls. Let me back up, because one of the reasons that I want you to be diverse in your calls is, let's face it, the market changes. And if you're only good in one source, when the market changes, you'll have to learn, and it's going to take you time to get good to get in it. So like when I was selling, expireds were rampant, and I have to admit, I only called the just listed when I needed to, because I took a listing. And a lot of my clients did too. So they had to learn the just listed script again. When the expireds dried up and FSBOs got higher, the expired agents had a really hard time calling for sale by owners. So part of my job, part of my want is to make sure that everybody here, no matter where the market is, because you've gotten to learn all of the lead sources, you add one at a time. And by the time you get done, no matter where the market is, you will be secure in being able to call someone who may need to buy or sell real estate. Okay, I meant to say that at the beginning. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about the diversity, is you need to be diverse. So no matter where the market is, you're going to be able to call people, know what to say, and get a listing or get a buyer. Okay, so I want to talk to you about what happened. I bought a new house here in West Jordan. Was outside with my family, with my grandchildren, doing sidewalk chalk, and there was a young man walking around, and you could tell he was nervous. You could tell he had talked to a couple of the other neighbors, and he kind of walked up to us, and he gave me his little pitch, and he was selling, his company they build decks. Well, so happened that the house that I bought the Trex, in this neighborhood, everybody got a Trex deck when these homes were built, and all the wood was defective. All of the material was defective. So almost everybody in the neighborhood already had their decks replaced through Trex, because there's a warranty class action, whatever it is. So he was walking around, and you could tell he was defeated. He had talked to almost anybody who was out, because right now a lot of people are out and about in my neighborhood. And he came to me and he started talking to me and asked me about, he started doing his pitch. He was good. I always listen. I always try to see how I can help a young salesman that comes to my door. And I made an appointment with him, and he was so excited. So after we did the whole appointment thing, I said to him, how many people did you have to talk to before you came to me and got an appointment? And he said, everybody. Nobody wanted to work with me. So in his mind, nobody wanted to work with him. So I asked him, why do you think I want to work with you? And his answer was, I don't know. Guys, we're looking, so let's, in the chat box, why did I want to work with him? What was the story I just told you about my deck? Why did I want to work with him and make an appointment? Because I had a need. Guys, when you're calling, all you're looking for is that person that needs a Trex deck. Everybody else in my neighborhood already had their decks done. They didn't need it. Some of them were probably nice to him. Some of them were probably rude to him. Some of them probably walked away, whatever. But when he got to me, I was the one person I don't know how many people are in this, but at least hundreds he went to throughout the couple of days. He had to go through those let's just say 100. He had to go through the 99 people that didn't need his deck to find me that absolutely needed a deck. It's the same thing with our SOI. It's the same thing, frankly, with a FSBO. It's the same thing, frankly, with an expired. You're only out there to find who needs your help. So don't give up on 99, because I could be the 100th person you're going to talk to, and I need your help. Okay, so be diverse in these calls. If you have any questions, guys, you have great managers, great brokers, great coaches. We have, you know, all of the leadership team. We are here for you. And we really want to make sure that if you need any more information about what I just did today or anything else, we're here for you. All right. Again, thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me today. We're going to end with our affirmations and go make it your best Friday yet.